Hi friends, it's Nancy, and I've been away for a while. I went on a little mini vacation. So this week, actually, I was supposed to be in Nova Scotia visiting my son and his wife. But because of COVID precautions, we still can't travel there. So I just put into Google, last minute vacations, Ontario. And I found this resort, this cabin resort up in Algonquin Park, near Whitney. And it was all inclusive, adults only. And I thought, oh, this sounds good. Let's do this. So we went for 4 nights, had a lovely time. No Wi-Fi, no TV. Just relaxing. But I did take some crafty stuff with me to work on while I was there. So I thought I would just show you what I took with me so that if you went on a vacation and you wanted to take a little bit of work with you, you could do that. I didn't bring my box with me. I think I left it on the dining room table. So here's what I took. I took this like shoebox sized container full of bits and pieces of lace. And I took this sewing box. It's an old vintage sewing box. It has a lid that fits in it to hold your thread and stuff, but I've since got rid of that. I just like it for storage. I have a couple of these. Actually, I have a couple of small ones as well. So here's a smaller one, but it's the same color. I store vintage fabric in that one. So whenever I see these at yard sales or whatever, I always grab them. Now I'm having an avalanche of fabric happening here. Because while I store fabric in it, I also store fabric on it. So what I took in here was, I took 2 small books so I could do some fussy cutting, which, boy, I took some notes too so that I will remember what to take with me next time I go. So I did do some fussy cutting. I got some more to do, but that's okay. But that was kind of a good way to spend an hour. And I also made a whole bunch of lace clusters. So I'm going to show you how I do those. I know I've done them before, but I just want to show you how easy it is to be transportable. The other thing I took was a bunch of pre-cut tags. So these are all cut from Tim Holtz paper. And the reason I wanted to make these, and I've had these in my shop before, recently actually, but I remember I got that book of stamps at the Goodwill bins a couple weeks ago. Last week, I guess it was. Yeah, the day I went for my appointment. So I had made these tags with little slots to put stamps in. So I wanted to make up some more so I could share my lucky find with you on my Etsy shop. So let's go through that step first. So what I've done is I've got some transparency paper. Now look for this when you are at thrift stores, because a box of acetate like this, it can be very, very expensive if you get it brand new from Staples or wherever. But you can get acetate for next to nothing if you go, and I mean a huge difference. Like if I paid $2 for this, okay, I don't see a price tag on it, so I probably got it at the weigh-in pay. So maybe I let's just say I spent $2 for it. If I looked for this on the Staples website, it would be $50. So huge difference. So I cut all of the acetate into strips that were 3/4 of an inch wide, and I cut it right down the middle, so 4 1/4 long. And so let's just do one together. The size of these tags is about 3 3/4 by 6. So I'm just going to put my ruler here at 3.5 inches, and I'm using art glitter glue. Oops. And this traveled fine as well. And I just sat on the front porch of the cabin and glued. That one doesn't look like it's the right size. It's come from someplace else. Okay, so I'm just putting it square along the ruler. And you can see the glue now, but when it dries you won't. So then I'm moving it down to 2 inches. Yeah, it was kind of a different trip for us because neither of us are very sporty. I used to camp a lot when I was a kid, and we did take the boys camping when they were, I don't know, old enough, and then we quit when they're like, yeah, no, we're not doing that anymore. I'm moving it down to 1/2 inch. And yes, the sides do hang over slightly, and there's a good reason for that, so I'll explain that in a minute. Yeah, camping is a lot of work, so there's no way you would ever catch me camping or doing any of those kinds of things again. So I'm turning this over. Now, I'm hoping that the camera catches this. So because it's hanging over, I know exactly where to place the other 3 because this is two-sided. So I'm just going to put on, there we go. Whoops. I had 2 there. If I had mistakenly miscut one, so maybe one was, you know, a little more than 3/4, a little less than 3/4, I would want to make sure the bottom was the one that met up. All right. I don't need any more glue right now. So the next, and that's all I did, because that's the tricky part. I didn't take my sewing machine with me. I did no sewing, so the sewing part is what I'm doing at home. So then I took my sewing machine and I ran a line of sewing across the very bottom of the little acetate strips. And I'm going to cut these right off. And then got a little bit of lace here, so I'm gonna decide which one I want at the top. So I'm gonna glue that little piece of crocheted lace at the top, just to be decorative, a little decorative tab. Anyway, but we did go canoeing, and I have canoed before, and not too long ago actually, but Doug hasn't canoed in 40 years. Anyway, we did okay, and they had canoes and kayaks, and in the winter they have like snowshoeing and cross-country skiing, all kinds of stuff like that too. Then I will sew around every side and then fill up the little pockets with stamps. So I've got all my butterfly stamps sorted out here right now. I think you can probably see that in the top of the frame. And yeah, so that's what I've been working on, and we'll be continuing to work on. So I'll move those aside. And I'm not going to show you fussy cutting. I'm pretty sure you know how to fussy cut. And if you don't, get these scissors. These are Fisker's Easy Action. You can get them at Walmart for about $15 Canadian. Okay. So for the, let me show you a few of these before we get too far into it. So I just use little scraps of lace and some buttons. Recently I got a corset, a bridal corset thing, a couple of, I'm not sure how long ago now, but there was a thing where you would wear like a beaded satin corset with a skirt. That was kind of a trend in bridal wear for about 10 minutes, maybe 15 years ago. I'm just guessing. So I got one of those corsets and I ripped it apart. I think I still have some intact in here somewhere. Yeah. So I tore it apart, and it's all in these long strips because it's a corset, right? And I tea dyed it. So I put this overnight in tea. This was white. And the netting that's behind the beads really took the tea. So so instead of putting buttons on some, I cut out the little I fussy cut around the little beaded applique bits and use them as sort of a highlight. And I think this one I did one button. It needed a button. So this one I put a little bit of velvet on there, a little bit of velvet lace. The one thing that I'm doing differently than in my previous video where I made these is I'm using a little bit of fabric on the back instead of just piling on the lace. So this stuff here, it's just a really thin gauzy fabric. So I'm just going to cut some squares up. Just see that? That'll be fine. It's just fine. Yeah, we went on a hike. There's a logging museum near the entrance to Algonquin Park, and it has a 1.3 kilometer hike that's graded for wheelchair access. So this was perfect for us. Oh, I'll use this while I got it. So, and I'm also kind of doing them assembly line style now, instead of picking them out one at a time. So that was good. as I said, the place where we stayed was an all-inclusive, so all the meals were included. And I think, I'm not sure, I think typically it would have been dining room service, but because of COVID, it was, meals were delivered to our cabin. Guy would just come around with his golf cart and bring a tray, which was fine. And it was timed, so like it wasn't like everybody got their meal at 6 o'clock. It was, you know, the first cabin got 6, the second cabin got 6:15. You know, there was the option of having service in the dining room, but only two couples at a time could be in the dining room. So I wasn't much interested. I didn't care one way or the other. I was happy to have my dinner delivered. And he got fed, that's for sure. And there was a choice, like you had to go and write down on a menu paper what your choices were. So first night we were there, we had steak. We had chicken one night. We had barbecue ribs one night. And breakfast, ham and eggs, or eggs Benedict, or they had like a lighter sort of yogurt and berries and kind of thing. We did have a DVD player so we could watch movies, and we did borrow some movies from the office. I watched one. Doug watched more than that because I was busy. I was outside communing with nature, feeding the wild animals like I wasn't supposed to. I wonder what this would look like, adding a little piece of netting. And everybody just kind of did their own thing. You know, everybody would sort of nod at each other and give a little wave. It's very Canadian. But then, like, we stayed Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So Sunday, yesterday morning, most of the people that had been there were all leaving. And then yesterday afternoon, new people started arriving. And, you know, we're a talkative bunch. So, you know, we made conversation with the people at the 2 cabins closest to us. And one couple were newlyweds. And the cabin closest to us was a lady who was there by herself. And she said, I just needed to get away. And she was there for 2 weeks by herself. She had brought her paint and her writing, and she was just going to make art, and that's what she was all about. And I said, oh, that's really interesting. And she said, she also does collage, she said. And I said, oh, where have you been all week? I could have used you. And she says, I brought a table and Mod Podge. And I said, we could be really good friends. So this morning when we were leaving, she said, are you guys checking out? And I said, yeah. And she says, but we didn't Mod Podge. And it was pet friendly. She had her dog with her. And the dog was definitely a senior dog. She was very slow. But friendly, a really friendly dog. And so I'd been feeding chipmunks and squirrels and everything else from my lounge chair on the front porch. And you know, she'd see a squirrel and try to run over to make friends with the squirrel, and the squirrel would run, and it was very sad. It's just very sad altogether. So some pieces I'm using the same, some are just things I'm grabbing out of the box and adding. And I like to add like a little focal point. That one's a big focal point though. So here's a little lily flower. And I do have a lot of like these kind of appliques. So I just cut them up. So I took a radio with me so I could listen to the radio. I like talk radio. I like CBC radio. And is there anything more Canadian than listening to CBC while you're at a log cabin in Algonquin Park? I don't think so. But there just wasn't enough electrical outlets in the cabin. So and there was outlets outdoors, but my electrical adapter was like bigger than this jar, and it wouldn't, like if I pull the flap, because it's an outdoor outlet, pulling the flap, it doesn't go past the 90-degree point, so I couldn't get my plug in there. Anyway, so I wrote that on my list, that next time I'll remember to bring a extension cord. They had a teapot, or sorry, a tea kettle, and a Keurig machine, so we could make our own tea and coffee. But I would have rather had, I did not like the coffee they had available. So we actually went to a store in Whitney and got some K-cups for the Keurig. Hi, Gibson. That was better. But I would have much preferred to have the coffee I make at home. I don't like that one. So I put on my list that I would take my coffee maker and big mugs, because I like a big mug. They just had, like, you know, the ordinary people mugs. What else did I think about? See, I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing. Anyway, so that would have made my life complete if I had had my personal coffee maker. What do you want, baby cat? I'm not sure that I like that one. Let's try something different. He wants me to go to bed is what he wants. But no, I can't do that right now, Gibson. I'm gonna cut this little one off. Okay. Hi. I can't be your friend right now. I'm very busy. All right. So let's stitch one together. So I took just regular sewing thread and this thicker stuff that I use for the buttons is it's candle wicking thread, but you could use embroidery thread or whatever. And the kind of needle that I prefer to use, it's called a straw needle. So that's my preferred needle. Why did I put it back in there? I need that. And of course I had my needle threader. Pretty soon I will go to bed, but not right now. Ooh. And it was a bit of a drive. We left this morning. Oh, come on. We left this morning about 8:30 and got home around 2. I mean, there is a faster route that involves toll roads, and I was not paying, because I would have had to pay the full toll, which is like $30, and I'm not doing it. I'm cheap. I'm cheap. All right, so I kind of have it the way I want it, and I'm just going to start by making stabs into here, and I'm going to sew the what did I call this? Focal point? I called it a focal point. So I'm just going to sort of applique the focal point down. And that will catch everything together. And I find having that little piece of gauzy, netty kind of fabric at the back is gives it some body, so I don't have to put as much lace on. Like I was using 5-6 layers of lace that you couldn't really enjoy because it was only meant to, you know, provide some body to the cluster itself. So, and it made it quite, you know, quite bulky. So I like this better. This is an improvement. Yeah. It is an improvement, Gibson. So I used a couple of different kinds of net kind of stuff that I picked up here and there. And I just use a thread that's, you know, neutral, pale ivory, or yeah. I'm just making tiny stitches. You're not going to see them anyway. Now, if I was doing these at the cabin, I would have just assembly line and sewed them all first. But I'm just going to tie a knot. And then I got my big needle. That I used for this stuff. I'm going to be done in just a few minutes. Yeah, just a few more minutes. Okay, I know I've shown you this before, the quilter's knot. So you have your needle on one side and your loose end at the bottom, at the other end. So you lay that thread there and then wrap around 1, 2, 3. Hold the wraps between your thumb and your finger and then pull the needle through. And you have a perfect needle. A knot. So I just have some buttons here and I'm just going to grab a few out of there. There's 3 in there. I think that's upside down. Yeah, that was upside down. And because I'm using this heavy thread, I don't have to do too many stitches. So if that was a 2-holer, I would have been done. But since it's a 4-holer, I'm doing 2 more passes here. Didn't see any moose. Didn't see any bears. Just chipmunks, red squirrels. We saw a turkey, a wild turkey on the road this morning. Lots of wildflowers, which I enjoyed. Not a lot of butterflies. I think I have 1 mosquito bite. And I was out all the time. There. And I'm bleeding. So that is just a couple of suggestions of little activities you could do while you're in the car or in front of the TV or on vacation. Thanks so much for watching. We'll talk to you again soon.